"Come with me. Your children need a father," said the Apache man to the pregnant outcast woman. The gunshot echoed across the canyon just as Mary Ellen collapsed against the trading post wall. Blood soaked through her dress, not from a bullet but from the life growing inside her, arriving too early and all wrong. The sun hammered down on Fort Davis like a blacksmith's anvil, and nobody moved to help the pregnant woman crumpled in the dust. They just stared, these good Christian folks, their faces hard as the Texas rocks beneath their boots. She had walked 15 miles that morning, kicked out of the settlement at Olympia Creek before dawn. The preacher's wife had done the kicking, literally, her pointed boot catching Mary Ellen in the ribs while she slept in the church stable. No husband meant no mercy, and the swelling belly just made it worse. Decent women didn't end up alone and pregnant. Decent women had husbands who didn't get themselves killed in poker games in El Paso. The contractions came in waves now, each one stealing her breath and her vision. Through the haze of pain she saw boots approaching, not the polished leather of townspeople, but worn moccasins decorated with blue and white beads. She forced her eyes upward. The man standing over her was Apache, his long black hair tied back with a strip of red cloth, his face weathered by wind and sun into something that looked carved from the land itself. He knelt beside her without asking permission from the gathering crowd. His hands moved across her belly with surprising gentleness, feeling the position of the baby, the tension in her muscles. When he looked at her face, his dark eyes held something she hadn't seen in months. Not pity. Recognition. "This baby comes wrong," he said in accented but clear English. "You need help now, or you both die here in this dust." "Somebody help her," called a woman from the crowd, but nobody moved forward. The storekeeper spat tobacco juice near Mary Ellen's feet. She made her choices. Let her live with them. The Apache man stood and turned to face the crowd. His hand rested on the knife at his belt, not threatening, just present. "I am called Running Wolf. I take her to my camp. My wife knows the medicine for this." "Your wife's dead, Apache," the storekeeper said. "Everybody knows that. Cholera took her and your son both 3 months back." Something flickered across Running Wolf's face, gone as quick as it came. "Yes, they are gone. This woman and her baby do not have to be." He bent and lifted Mary Ellen like she weighed nothing, cradling her against his chest. She tried to speak, to ask where he was taking her, but another contraction seized her, and all she could do was grip his shirt. The fabric was soft deerskin, worn smooth by use. "Wait just a damn minute," the storekeeper stepped forward. "You can't just take a white woman." Running Wolf stopped but didn't turn around. "You want her? You help her?" He waited. The silence stretched out like the desert itself. "No." "Then I take her. She dies here or maybe lives there. You choose for her already." He carried her toward a paint horse tied near the water trough. Getting her onto the animal took some doing, with Mary Ellen barely conscious and the contractions coming harder. Running Wolf swung up behind her, one arm locked around her waist to hold her steady. "Come with me," he said quietly, his breath warm against her ear. "Your children need a father." Mary Ellen's eyes snapped open at that. Children, plural. How did he know? She was carrying twins. The midwife in Olympia Creek had told her that much before turning her out. 2 babies meant twice the shame, twice the burden, twice the mouths she couldn't feed. But this stranger, this Apache man who owed her nothing, he had known somehow, and he had said father, not just help or shelter. The horse moved beneath them, and Fort Davis began to fall away. Mary Ellen felt consciousness slipping, but she heard Running Wolf speaking, maybe to her, maybe to himself, maybe to the baby struggling inside her. My wife was called Morning Rain. My son was called Laughing Boy. They are 3 months in the ground, and my lodge is empty of their voices. The spirits send me to Fort Davis for salt, and I find you instead. This is not accident. Nothing is accident. The last thing Mary Ellen remembered before the darkness took her was the steady rhythm of the horse's gait and the strong arm holding her safe. She had been falling for so long, since the day the army officer came to tell her about Charlie's death, falling through hatred and hunger and loneliness. But now, impossibly, someone had caught her. When she woke, she would find out what it cost. The fever broke on the 3rd day. Mary Ellen opened her eyes to firelight dancing on hide walls and the sound of women singing in a language she didn't understand. Her body felt hollow and strange, lighter somehow. She tried to sit up and gasped at the pain that lanced through her middle. "Slow. You move slow." The woman speaking was ancient, her face a map of wrinkles, her hands quick and certain as they pressed Mary Ellen back down onto the buffalo robes. "Babies are here. You are here. That is enough for now. Babies." Mary Ellen's hands flew to her stomach, finding it soft and empty beneath the deerskin covering. Where are they? Are they alive? The old woman smiled, revealing gaps where teeth used to be. You think I let Running Wolf's babies die? I am, Blue Crow woman. I catch babies for 40 winters. Your girls are strong. Girls. Daughters. Mary Ellen felt tears burning hot down her cheeks before she even knew she was crying. I want to see them. Blue Crow woman made a clicking sound with her tongue and gestured to someone Mary Ellen couldn't see. A moment later, 2 bundles were placed in her arms, impossibly small and perfect. Dark hair darker than hers, darker than Charlie's had been. Tiny fists waving in the air, eyes that would be brown. She could already tell, both of them breathing, both of them real. The bigger one came first, Blue Crow woman said. Running Wolf says call her First Light. The smaller one fought harder. He says call her Storm Coming. But you are Mother. You choose names. Mary Ellen couldn't stop staring at their faces. She had prepared herself for death, hers or theirs, or all of them, together. Instead, she held life. 2 pieces of impossible life that some Apache man she didn't know had pulled from the ashes of her burning world. Where is he? She asked. Running Wolf. I need to thank him. Blue Crow woman's expression shifted to something complicated. He is gone. He takes his horse to the canyon where Morning Rain is buried. He goes there since she died. Sometimes 2 days, sometimes 5. He talks to the rocks and the wind. She paused, studying Mary Ellen's face. You understand what he does, bringing you here? He saved my life, saved my daughters. More than that. Blue Crow woman settled herself on the ground beside the bed, her joints creaking. Running Wolf had good marriage. Morning Rain was daughter of Red Cloud, big chief, respected man. When she died with their son, Red Cloud said Running Wolf should take one of his younger daughters, keep the family strong. Running Wolf said no. For 3 months, he says no. Red Cloud gets angry. Other men whisper, Running Wolf is broken by grief, no good to the people anymore. Mary Ellen listened, feeling the weight of her daughters in her arms, understanding dawning cold in her chest. And then he brings home a white woman with half-breed babies. Red Cloud is very angry now. Says Running Wolf shames his dead daughter, shames the people. But Running Wolf does not care. He tells everyone, these are his children now. This woman is his wife now. The spirit sent her to him, and he will not turn away from spirit gifts. Blue Crow woman leaned closer. You understand? He claims you. He claims your babies. In front of everyone, he makes this claim. If you leave, he loses all honor. If you stay, you must be Apache wife, not white woman visiting. The lodge seemed smaller suddenly, the firelight less warm. Mary Ellen looked down at First Light and Storm Coming, their tiny faces peaceful in sleep. What choice did she have? Back in Fort Davis, she was nothing, worse than nothing. Her own people had watched her bleeding in the dirt and done nothing. Here she had a chance. Her daughters had a chance. I don't know how to be an Apache wife, she said quietly. Blue Crow woman laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a hillside. You don't know how to be any kind of wife. I see that. Charlie was boy playing at being man, yes? Gambler, drinker, big talker. You were 14 when you married him. Now you are 17 and you know nothing useful. It was true. Mary Ellen had been the youngest daughter of a failed farmer, married off to the first man who asked because her father couldn't feed another mouth. Charlie had been handsome and full of promises about making it big in Texas. Instead, he had drunk their money, gambled what he didn't drink, and left her pregnant and penniless when he finally picked a fight with someone faster on the draw. I can learn, Mary Ellen heard herself say. If someone teaches me, I can learn. Good. That is good answer. Blue Crow woman stood with surprising agility for someone so old. Running Wolf needs sons to train, daughters to spoil, wife to fill the empty places. You need food, shelter, protection, man to call your babies his own. Both of you need something. Franciane, that is good start for marriage. Over the next 3 days, Mary Ellen learned just how little she knew about survival. Blue Crow woman was relentless, showing her how to nurse both babies at once, how to make the cradle board that would let her carry them while working, how to prepare the meals that Running Wolf preferred. The other women in the camp watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility. Mary Ellen caught fragments of conversation she couldn't understand, but the tone was clear enough. She was the outsider, the white woman who had somehow claimed a place that wasn't hers. On the 4th day, Running Wolf returned. Mary Ellen heard the commotion outside the lodge and felt her heart start hammering. She smoothed down her borrowed dress, a soft doe-skin shift that Blue Crow woman had given her, and tried to look like she belonged there. He ducked through the entrance, and for a moment they just looked at each other. He seemed older than she remembered, or maybe she was just seeing him clearly for the first time. Lines around his eyes, gray threading through his black hair. Somewhere in his middle 30s, she guessed. Twice her age, near enough. "You are better," he said. Not a question. "Yes, thanks to you. Thanks to Blue Crow Woman." Mary Ellen hesitated. "I want to say something about what you did, claiming me and my daughters. I know what it cost you, what it might still cost you." Running Wolf moved to the fire, settling cross-legged on the ground. "Costs are for trading." "This is not trade. The spirits took my family." "The spirits sent me new family. A man does not bargain with spirits. But I'm white. My daughters are half white. Your people don't want us here." "My people did not want many things at first. They did not want horses until they saw how horses changed everything. They did not want rifles until they saw how rifles changed everything. Maybe they do not want you now, but you are here. Things will change." He looked up at her, his expression unreadable. "Question is, do you want to be here? You are strong enough to travel now. If you want to go, I take you to fort, to mission, wherever you want. I tell everyone you are widow I helped, nothing more. You start new somewhere." Mary Ellen's hands moved automatically to adjust Storm Cummings' blanket. The baby made a small sound in her sleep, and First Light stirred in response. 2 tiny lives, depending on her choice. She thought about Fort Davis, about the hatred in those faces. She thought about other towns, other forts, all the same. Everywhere she went, she would be the widow with the bastard babies, the woman who couldn't keep her husband alive, couldn't keep herself respectable, or she could stay here, in this hide lodge that smelled of smoke and sage. She could learn to be Apache. She could give her daughters a father who chose them, who claimed them not because blood demanded it, but because something deeper did. "I want to stay," she said. "If you'll have us," Running Wolf nodded slowly, "then you are my wife." "They are my daughters, First Light and Storm Coming. Good names. Strong names." He stood and crossed to where the babies slept in their shared cradle board. For a long moment he just looked at them. When he spoke again, his voice was rough with emotion. Laughing Boy would have been their brother. Morning Rain would have loved them. I think maybe that is why the spirits sent you. So their love does not die, just changes shape. Mary Ellen felt tears rising again, but these were different from the tears of pain and fear. These were tears of something that might have been gratitude, or might have been grief, or might have been the strange mixture of both that comes when one life ends and another begins. Blue Crow Woman appeared in the entrance, her timing perfect as always. Enough talking. "You are married now, yes?" "Good. White girl, you come with me. You learn to scrape hide." "Running Wolf, you watch babies. Fathers should know their daughters." The old woman grabbed Mary Ellen's arm and pulled her outside before she could protest. As they walked toward where several women were working on stretched buffalo hides, Mary Ellen glanced back. Through the lodge entrance, she could see Running Wolf kneeling beside the cradle board, one finger extended so First Light could grip it with her tiny hand. He was singing something soft and low, and even though Mary Ellen couldn't understand the words, she understood the meaning. "Welcome home. Welcome to the world. Welcome to my heart." 3 weeks passed, and Mary Ellen learned more than she thought possible. Her hands, soft from her easy life before Charlie died, grew calloused from scraping hides and grinding corn. Blue Crow Woman was a harsh teacher, but a fair one, never asking more than Mary Ellen could give, but always pushing her to give everything she had. The other women remained distant, but not openly hostile. They watched her struggle with the heavy water baskets, watched her fumble with the tanning mixture, watched her try to understand the rapid Apache conversation swirling around her. Some mornings Mary Ellen caught them smiling when First Light or Storm Coming made baby noises, and she held on to those small moments of acceptance like treasures. Running Wolf was gone more than he was present, hunting with the other men, scouting for army patrols that sometimes came too close to the camp, attending council meetings with Red Cloud and the other elders. When he was in the lodge, he was quiet, teaching Mary Ellen Apache words, showing her how to make the thick stew he liked, holding his daughters with a gentleness that seemed impossible for hands so scarred and strong. They hadn't touched each other beyond accidental brushes of fingers when passing the babies. They slept on opposite sides of the lodge, a careful distance maintained. Mary Ellen wasn't sure if she was relieved or disappointed. Running Wolf was her husband in name, but what did that mean here, in this world so different from everything she knew? On the 23rd day, everything changed. Mary Ellen woke before dawn to the sound of horses and shouting. She bolted upright, instinctively reaching for the cradle board where her daughters slept. Running Wolf was already at the lodge entrance, his rifle in hand, his face grim. "Raiders," he said without turning around. "Comanche? Maybe 20 of them, coming fast." Terror froze her blood. Mary Ellen had heard stories about Comanche raids, the violence and the captives taken. What do we do? Women and children go to the canyon. There are caves, places to hide, men stay and fight. Running Wolf finally turned to look at her, and his expression softened slightly. "You take the babies. Blue Crow Woman will show you the way. You go now." "What about you?" "I fight." "That is what men do. Go now, Mary Ellen. No more talking." She wanted to argue, to say something about how she just found this strange new life and couldn't bear to lose it already. But Blue Crow Woman burst into the lodge, breathing hard, her ancient face urgent. "Come, white girl. Bring babies. We run now." The next hours were chaos. Mary Ellen ran with the other women and children, following Blue Crow Woman up a narrow trail that switchbacked up the canyon wall. The cradle board with both babies bounced against her back, and she prayed with every step that they wouldn't fall, wouldn't be hurt by her clumsy running. Behind them, the sounds of battle erupted, gunshots cracking like thunder, men shouting in languages that tangled together, horses screaming. Mary Ellen forced herself not to look back, to keep climbing, to keep moving. They reached the caves as the sun broke over the horizon. Blue Crow Woman pushed them all deep into the largest cavern, then positioned herself at the entrance with a knife in her weathered hand. The women huddled together, children crying softly, everyone listening to the sounds of violence echoing up from below. Mary Ellen found a place against the cave wall and untied the cradle board, checking her daughters. First Light was awake and fussy, Stormcoming still asleep somehow through all the chaos. She held them both close, rocking and humming, trying to be calm when everything inside her was screaming. A young Apache woman named Brightwater crept over to sit beside her. They had spoken a few times, awkward exchanges where Brightwater practiced English and Mary Ellen practiced Apache. Now Brightwater's face was tight with fear. "My husband fights down there," she whispered. "Your husband, too." "We wait and we pray." "I don't know how to pray in Apache," Mary Ellen said. "Then pray in white words. Spirits understand all languages." Brightwater squeezed her hand. "Running Wolf is good fighter. Best hunter, good fighter. He comes back." Mary Ellen wanted to believe her. She thought about Running Wolf holding First Light, singing in that deep, quiet voice. She thought about the way he had lifted her from the dust in Fort Davis without asking permission from anyone. She thought about how he had chosen to claim her daughters as his own, knowing the cost. "Please," she prayed to whoever might be listening. "Please let him live. We just got here. We need more time." The battle lasted until midday. Gradually, the sounds of fighting faded, replaced by an eerie silence that was somehow worse. The women waited, barely breathing, until finally they heard footsteps on the trail below. Blue Crow Woman tensed at the cave entrance, her knife ready. "It is finished." The voice belonged to Red Cloud himself. "Comanche are driven away. 3 of our men are dead, 5 wounded. You can come down now." They emerged into harsh sunlight, descending carefully with their children. Mary Ellen's legs shook so badly she almost fell twice. As they reached the camp, she saw the damage. Several lodges burned or collapsed, belongings scattered everywhere, and bodies, 3 Apache warriors, laid out in the center of camp, women caning over them. Mary Ellen searched the crowd frantically for Running Wolf's tall form. Her heart hammered so hard she thought she might be sick. Then she saw him, standing near the council fire, blood on his shirt but upright and whole. Their eyes met across the chaos, and something in her chest unlocked. She walked toward him, still carrying both babies, not caring who saw or what they thought. When she reached him, she saw the blood on his shirt was coming from a gash across his shoulder, deep but not fatal. "You're hurt," she said stupidly. "I am alive. You are alive. Our daughters are alive. That is all that matters." Running Wolf touched First Light's cheek with one finger, leaving a small smudge of blood. "This is not the last raid we will face. This is the life here. Do you still want to stay?" Mary Ellen looked around at the destroyed camp, the grieving women, the grim-faced men. She should have been terrified. She should have been demanding he take her somewhere safe, somewhere civilized. But as she stood there holding her daughters, watching this man who had claimed them as his own despite the blood running down his arm, she realized something strange. She felt more at home here in this damaged Apache camp than she ever had in her father's house or in the room she had shared with Charlie. These people had fought to protect her and her babies. Running Wolf had fought to protect them. That meant something. "I want to stay," she said. "Someone needs to clean that wound before it goes bad. Someone needs to help rebuild the lodges. Might as well be me." Running Wolf's stern expression cracked into something that might have been a smile. "You are Apache now, Mary Ellen. Maybe not blood, but heart? That is good enough." Red Cloud approached, his face like carved stone. He looked at Mary Ellen for a long moment, at the babies in her arms, at Running Wolf's bleeding shoulder. When he spoke, his voice was cold but not hostile. "The white woman fought today, too," he said in careful English, clearly intending for Mary Ellen to understand. "She carried 2 babies up the canyon trail without falling. She did not scream or cry. She did what needed to be done." He turned to Running Wolf. "Your new wife is stronger than she looks. Perhaps the spirits chose better than I thought." It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly, but it was acknowledgement. Mary Ellen felt Brightwater's hand on her back, a gesture of support. She saw some of the other women nodding slightly, and she understood that she had just passed some test she hadn't known she was taking. The next weeks were hard work. Lodges needed rebuilding, food needed gathering to replace what the raiders had destroyed, wounds needed tending. Mary Ellen worked alongside the other women from dawn until long after dark, learning by doing, making mistakes and fixing them, slowly earning acceptance through sweat and determination. Running Wolf's shoulder healed slowly. Mary Ellen changed his bandages every evening, her hands growing steadier with practice. They talked during these sessions, or rather Running Wolf talked and Mary Ellen listened. He told her about Morning Rain, how they had met, how she had died. He told her about Laughing Boy, just 2 years old when cholera took him, already showing signs of becoming a strong hunter. "You miss them," Mary Ellen said one evening as she tied off a fresh bandage. "Every breath. Missing them is like missing part of my body, but life goes forward. Grief is heavy, but I cannot carry only grief. I must carry hope, too." He looked at where First Light and Storm Coming lay sleeping in their cradle board. "Your daughters give me hope. You give me hope. New family, new purpose. The old family is not forgotten, but the new family is not punished for existing." Mary Ellen sat back, studying his face in the firelight. "Can I ask you something? When you saw me in Fort Davis, what made you stop? You could have just kept riding." Running Wolf was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally he spoke, his voice low and thoughtful. "I saw Morning Rain. Not her face, but her spirit. She was lying in the dust outside the mission when cholera came to her village. Everyone was afraid to touch her. I was just passing through, young man with no family, no ties. I stopped because no one else would. I carried her to the mission. The priests helped her live. She said I saved her life, so she belonged to me now. That is how we started." Understanding bloomed in Mary Ellen's chest. "So when you saw me in the dust, you saw her. I saw a chance to honor her memory. I saw spirits at work. I saw women and babies who needed help, just like she did once." He met her eyes directly. "I do not expect you to love me, Mary Ellen. You were Charlie's wife. You loved him, maybe. Or maybe you did not, but he was yours. I am not trying to replace him. I am trying to give you and your daughters a life worth living." That is all. Mary Ellen felt tears burning at the corners of her eyes. Charlie never saved anyone's life. He barely managed to keep his own going. You've saved 3 lives and asked nothing in return? That matters, Running Wolf. That matters more than you know. He reached out, hesitated, then gently touched her cheek where a tear had escaped. You cry a lot for Apache woman. Must learn to hide tears better. She laughed despite herself, a sound that surprised them both. I'll work on that, along with everything else I'm learning. Good. Tomorrow Blue Crow woman teaches you to shoot. She is best shot in camp, better than most men. Do not tell the men I said that. Their secret is safe with me. That night, for the first time, Running Wolf moved his sleeping robes closer to hers. Not touching, but near enough that Mary Ellen could hear him breathing, could feel his presence like warmth in the dark. First Light woke twice to feed, and both times Mary Ellen heard Running Wolf stir, checking on them, making sure all was well before settling back into sleep. This was family, she realized. Not the family she had been born into or the family she had tried to build with Charlie. This was something different, something chosen rather than inherited or imposed. It was messy and complicated and built on grief and necessity, but it was real. As she drifted back to sleep with Storm coming, nursing Cunt and Deadly, Mary Ellen thought about the woman she had been just 2 months ago. That woman had been ready to die in the dust. This woman, the one lying in an Apache lodge with her mixed-blood daughters and her unexpected husband, was ready to live. The difference was everything. 6 months passed like seasons turning, each day bringing Mary Ellen deeper into Apache life. Her skin darkened from constant sun, her body grew strong from endless work, and her daughters thrived in ways she hadn't imagined possible. First Light was already pulling herself up to sit, her dark eyes tracking everything with fierce curiosity. Storm Coming was smaller but fierce in her own way, crying with startling volume when she wanted attention and laughing when Running Wolf tickled her feet. Mary Ellen's Apache improved daily, though she still thought in English and dreamed in a confusing mixture of both languages. The other women had slowly warmed to her, especially after she proved herself useful with a rifle. Blue Crow Woman's shooting lessons had revealed an unexpected talent. Mary Ellen could hit a target at distances that made even the men take notice. "A white girl has hawk eyes," Red Cloud had remarked after watching her drop a running deer at 200 yards. Good thing she is Apache now, would be dangerous as enemy. Running Wolf had looked proud at that, though he tried to hide it. Their relationship had deepened into something comfortable and strange. They were partners in raising the twins, in maintaining their lodge, in surviving the harsh West Texas landscape. But they still hadn't crossed the invisible line from partnership into true marriage. Mary Ellen sometimes caught him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Want, maybe, or something deeper and more complicated. She found herself watching him too, noticing the way firelight caught in his long black hair, the strength in his scarred hands, the gentleness he showed their daughters. The change came on a night in late autumn when the first cold winds began blowing down from the mountains. Mary Ellen woke to Storm Coming's crying and found Running Wolf already up, pacing with the baby against his shoulder, singing low and soft. First Light was still asleep somehow, one tiny fist pressed against her mouth. "She has a sore belly, I think," Running Wolf said quietly. "Too much of the rabbit stew, maybe." Mary Ellen rose and took Storm Coming, feeling the tense little body, the hard stomach that indicated gas or cramps. She had learned a dozen Apache remedies over the past months, but sometimes a baby just needed to be walked and comforted until the pain passed. "I will take her," she said. "You should sleep." "You are hunting tomorrow." "We both take her. Walking is easier with company." They moved outside into the cold night air, walking the perimeter of the camp. Overhead, stars blazed in the clear sky, more stars than Mary Ellen had ever imagined existed. Storm Coming's cries gradually softened to whimpers, then to silence as she fell asleep against Mary Ellen's shoulder. "She is strong, that one," Running Wolf said. "Fights everything first, accepts later. First Light is opposite. She watches, thinks, then acts. Good that they are different. They will balance each other. You're good with them," Mary Ellen said. "Better than most fathers I have seen. Better than my own father, certainly. Better than Charlie would have been." Running Wolf was quiet for a moment. "You do not talk about Charlie much. Was he bad husband?" Mary Ellen considered the question carefully. "He was not a bad man. He was just a boy pretending to be a man. He liked gambling more than responsibility. He liked drinking more than planning for tomorrow. He would have loved the babies, I think, but love is not enough. Children need food and safety and someone who thinks about their future. You were too young to marry him." "I was too young to marry anyone. But my father needed one less mouth to feed, and Charlie seemed exciting. I thought I loved him. Maybe I did, in some young, stupid way. But I do not think he loved me, not really. I was pretty and available, and that was enough." They reached the edge of camp and turned back, Storm Coming now deeply asleep, her breath soft and even against Mary Ellen's neck. Running Wolf reached out and gently touched the baby's back. "I loved Morning Rain," he said quietly. "Real love. Deep love. She was sun in my morning, stars in my night. When she died, I thought I died too. Part of me did die. That part is buried with her and Laughing Boy, and it will never come back." He paused, his hand still resting on Storm Coming's back. "But dead parts make room for new growth. That is what Blue Crow Woman tells me. Like forest fire clears ground for new trees." Mary Ellen's heart was suddenly pounding. "What are you saying?" "I am saying I do not expect you to love me like you might have loved Charlie, or like I loved Morning Rain. But I am saying that we have built something good here. Partnership, friendship, family. Maybe that is enough. Maybe that is better than passionate love that burns fast and dies quick." He finally looked at her directly, and in the starlight his eyes were very dark and very serious. "I am saying I would like to be your husband in truth, not just name. If you want that too." Mary Ellen felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. She could say no, and Running Wolf would accept it. and they would continue as they had been. Safe, distant, partners but not lovers. Or she could say yes and step into something unknown and frightening and possibly wonderful. She thought about the woman she had been in Fort Davis, dying in the dust while good Christian people watched. She thought about the woman she was now, strong and capable, an Apache in all the ways that mattered. She thought about Running Wolf, kneeling beside First Light and Storm Coming every morning, touching their faces, telling them in Apache how precious they were. Yes, she heard herself say, I want that too. Running Wolf's stern face softened into something like relief. He reached out and gently took Storm Coming from her arms, cradling the sleeping baby in one arm. With his free hand he touched Mary Ellen's cheek, his palm warm against her skin. You are certain? No doubts? I have 1,000 doubts about everything, but I am certain about this. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like she was something precious that might break. Mary Ellen felt something in her chest unlock and open, some final wall falling away. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. We should go inside, Running Wolf said. Too cold for babies out here. Too cold for anyone, Mary Ellen agreed. They walked back to their lodge together, their steps matched, Storm Coming sleeping peacefully between them. Inside, they laid her in the cradleboard beside her sister, then turned to each other in the firelight. What happened next was gentle and slow, two people learning each other carefully, building something new on the foundation of friendship and respect. Later, lying in the warm darkness, with Running Wolf's arm around her, Mary Ellen felt a peace she had never known before. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For stopping in Fort Davis. For seeing me when no one else did. For giving my daughters a name and a home. For giving me a second chance. Running Wolf pulled her closer. Thank you for staying. For learning. For being brave enough to become Apache. For letting me be father to First Light and Storm Coming. For letting me try to be husband to you. You don't have to try. You already are. They fell asleep like that, wrapped together while outside the wind sang cold songs and the stars wheeled overhead. In the morning, everything would look different. But for now, in this moment, everything was exactly as it should be. 2 years passed in a rhythm of seasons. First Light and Storm Coming grew into small people with big personalities, running wild with the other Apache children, speaking Apache as their first language and English as a distant second. They called Running Wolf father without hesitation, and he treated them exactly as he would have treated his own blood daughters. Mary Ellen became what she had never thought possible, a respected member of the Apache community. The women came to her for advice on difficult shots, and she taught several of them to shoot with her accuracy. Blue Crow Woman joked that she had created a monster, but her pride was obvious. Red Cloud remained distant but no longer hostile. He acknowledged Mary Ellen when they met, and once, after First Light brought him flowers she had picked, he had smiled. It was progress, slow and hard-won, but real. Running Wolf and Mary Ellen's marriage deepened into something solid and true. They still had moments of disconnect, times when their different backgrounds created misunderstandings, but they talked through conflicts, laughed at mistakes, and built a life that felt earned rather than given. Then the army came. It was early spring, the desert just starting to bloom, when the patrol rode into the canyon. 20 soldiers led by a young lieutenant with a smooth face and nervous eyes. They carried a white flag, indicating peaceful intentions, but every man had his hand near his weapon. Red Cloud met them at the camp entrance, Running Wolf and 3 other warriors beside him. Mary Ellen watched from near her lodge, her rifle close at hand, First Light and Storm Coming playing behind her, unaware of the tension crackling in the air. The lieutenant dismounted and approached Red Cloud carefully. I'm Lieutenant Hayes from Fort Davis. I'm looking for a woman. White woman, blonde hair, would have been pregnant last time anyone saw her. Name is Mary Ellen Crawford. Her family is looking for her. I think she might have been taken captive. Mary Ellen's blood went cold. Our family? She had no family except the one she had built here. Her father had sold her off to Charlie without a second thought, and she had no siblings who had ever cared about her welfare. Running Wolf's face was unreadable, but his hand moved to rest on his rifle. No captives here. All women here are Apache women. Lieutenant Hayes looked around the camp, his eyes moving past the lodges, the children playing, the women working. Then his gaze stopped on Mary Ellen, and his eyes widened slightly. You there, he called. Ma'am, are you Mary Ellen Crawford? Every eye in the camp turned to her. Mary Ellen felt her heart hammering. She could lie, could pretend she didn't speak English, could disappear into her Apache identity, but something in the lieutenant's earnest face made her step forward. I was Mary Ellen Crawford, she said clearly. Now I am Running Wolf's wife. I am Apache. The lieutenant looked confused. Ma'am, if you are being held against your will, I can protect you. If we can escort you back to Fort Davis, back to civilization. I am not being held. I am here by choice. This is my home. These are my people. That man is my husband, and those children are our daughters. Lieutenant Hayes glanced at First Light and Storm Cumming, at their brown skin and black hair, at the Apache clothing they wore. Those are half-breed children. Your family said you were pregnant when you disappeared. They are worried about you, ma'am.
I want you to come home. Mary Ellen felt anger rising, hot and fierce.
My family kicked me out and left me to die in the street. Running Wolf saved my life and my daughter's lives. He gave us a home when my own people turned their backs. This is my home now, Lieutenant. I am not going anywhere. Red Cloud spoke in Apache, his voice carrying across the camp. The white woman speaks truth. She came to us dying. We made her live. She chose to stay. She is Apache now. She is wife to Running Wolf, mother to his daughters. No one forces her. Lieutenant Hayes looked torn between duty and common sense. Ma'am, I need you to understand. If you come back willingly, there will be no questions asked. You and your children will be taken care of. But if you refuse, there will be people who say you are brainwashed, that you are being held captive. There will be pressure on the army to conduct raids, to rescue white captives. Mary Ellen understood the threat beneath his words. Her choice could bring violence to the camp, could endanger everyone she loved. But going back would be its own kind of death, a return to a world that had no place for her or her daughters. Lieutenant Hayes, she said carefully, I appreciate your concern, but I need you to understand something. I am happier here in this Apache camp than I ever was in white civilization. My daughters are safe, loved, and learning to be strong. My husband treats me with more respect than any white man ever did. Going back would not be rescue. It would be captivity. Your family will not accept that answer, Hayes said, but his voice had lost its conviction. He could see the truth in her face, in the way First Light came running to clutch her skirt, in the way Running Wolf moved to stand beside her without being asked. Then my family will have to learn to live with disappointment, Mary Ellen said firmly. I am not going back. The standoff lasted another tense minute. Then Lieutenant Hayes sighed and remounted his horse. I will report that I found you alive, well, and here by choice. I cannot guarantee what happens after that, but I will tell the truth. That is all I ask, Mary Ellen replied. The patrol rode out, and the camp slowly relaxed. But Mary Ellen knew this was not over. She had kicked a hornet's nest, and eventually the hornets would come swarming. Running Wolf found her that evening, sitting outside the lodge, watching the sunset paint the canyon walls gold and red. He sat beside her without speaking, and they watched the colors deepen together. More soldiers will come, he said finally. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month. But they will come. Some white people cannot accept that one of their own would choose to be Apache. I know. I am sorry. I have brought trouble to the camp. No. Running Wolf's voice was firm. You brought truth. Truth is not trouble. Lies that need truth to stay hidden, those bring trouble. He took her hand in his. Whatever comes, we face together. You, me, our daughters, our people. That is what family does. Mary Ellen squeezed his hand tightly. I meant what I told that lieutenant. I am happier here than I ever was in white civilization. You gave me a life worth fighting for. Then we will fight, if we must. Or we will move camp, go deeper into the mountains, where our army cannot follow easily. Red Cloud will decide, but either way, you are Apache. No one can change that now. First Light toddled over and climbed into Running Wolf's lap, jabbering in Apache about something important that only she understood. Storm Cumming was right behind her, not wanting to be left out. Running Wolf gathered both girls close, and Mary Ellen leaned against his shoulder, and they sat there in the fading light, a family forged from loss and choice and stubborn love. The soldiers would come or they wouldn't. The camp would move or it would stay. But this, the four of them together, this was real and solid and worth whatever came next. Mary Ellen had walked through fire to get here, had been remade in the flames. She was not going back to the ashes. She was Apache now, in heart and soul and stubborn determination. The months following Lieutenant Hayes' visit were tense. Red Cloud called a council, and the decision was made to move deeper into the mountains, to a place where the army would have difficulty following. It meant leaving good hunting grounds, leaving familiar territory, but it meant safety for the camp. Mary Ellen worked alongside the other women, packing up the lodge, helping to move food stores and supplies. The journey took 5 days, traveling through terrain so rough that even the horses struggled. First Light and Storm Coming, now nearly 3 years old, were old enough to walk some of the time, but still needed carrying when the path grew too difficult. The new camp was in a narrow canyon with good water and defensible positions. It was beautiful, in a harsh way, all red rocks and twisted juniper trees and sky so blue it hurt to look at. Setting up took another week of hard work, but gradually the camp took shape. Lodges rising, fires burning, life continuing in a new place. Mary Ellen had just finished hanging the last of their supplies when Brightwater came running, her face pale with fear. Riders coming. Many riders. Not soldiers, different. Running Wolf grabbed his rifle and joined the other men taking up defensive positions. Mary Ellen loaded her own rifle with steady hands and positioned herself where she could watch over the lodge, where First Light and Storm Coming played with Blue Crow Woman. The riders that emerged from the canyon's mouth were not soldiers. They were ranchers, farmers, townsmen from Fort Davis and the surrounding settlements, 24 of them, heavily armed, led by a man Mary Ellen recognized even from a distance. Her father. Bile rose in her throat. She had not seen him in more than 3 years, had tried not to think about him. Now here he was, riding into her new home with violence in his eyes. Red Cloud met them at the canyon entrance, Running Wolf beside him. Mary Ellen could hear the conversation from where she stood, her father's voice loud and accusing. "We know you have her. Mary Ellen Crawford, my daughter. We are here to bring her home, and we will use force if necessary. We will not leave a white woman in captivity." "She is not captive," Red Cloud said in his careful English. "She is wife. She is mother. She is here by choice." Mary Ellen's father spat on the ground. "No daughter of mine would choose to live with savages." "You have brainwashed her, filled her head with lies. We are taking her back, and we are taking those half-breed children to be raised properly." Something in Mary Ellen snapped. She stepped out from behind her cover, rifle in hand, her voice carrying clear across the camp. "You have no claim on me or my daughters. You kicked me out. You left me to die. Running Wolf saved us, gave us a home, gave us a family. You do not get to come here now and pretend you care." Her father's face went red with anger. "You are my daughter. Those children are my grandchildren. I have every right to take you home, to save you from this degradation." "Degradation?" Mary Ann laughed, a harsh sound. "You want to talk about degradation? You sold me to Charlie Crawford for $50 and 3 pigs. You did not care that I was 14. You did not care that he was a drunk and a gambler. You just wanted one less mouth to feed. Do not stand there now and pretend you are rescuing me. You are just ashamed that your daughter chose Apache life over white poverty." He turned to the men behind him. "We are taking her. Grab the woman and the children. Kill any Apache who gets in the way." The ranchers started to move forward, but Running Wolf's rifle came up, and suddenly every Apache warrior had a weapon pointed at the intruders. The odds were roughly even, but the Apache had the advantage of position and desperation. "You will not touch my wife," Running Wolf said, his voice deadly calm. "You will not touch my daughters. You come into my home making threats. That ends now. Turn around and ride away, or we will bury you in this canyon." Mary Ellen's father looked at her, and for just a moment she saw something that might have been regret in his eyes. Then it hardened back to anger and pride. "You are choosing these savages over your own blood," he said. "No," Mary Ellen replied. "I am choosing people who love me over people who never did. There is a difference." The standoff seemed to last forever, though it was probably only seconds. Then one of the ranchers, an older man Mary Ellen vaguely recognized from Fort Davis, spoke up. "Henry, maybe we should go. She seems healthy. She seems happy. Maybe this is not our fight?" "Not our fight?" Her father wheeled on him. "She is white. They are Apache. It is always our fight. She is a grown woman making her own choice," the rancher said. "My wife would skin me alive if I brought home a woman against her will, white or not. Let it go, Henry. You did your duty by coming here. She does not want to be saved. That is the end of it." Murmurs of agreement rose from some of the other men. They had come expecting a helpless captive, and instead they found a capable woman defending her chosen life with a rifle in her hands. It changed the calculation. Mary Ellen's father looked at her one last time. "You are dead to me," he said. "You and those half-breed brats. Do not ever come back to Fort Davis. Do not ever try to contact any of your real family. I have no interest in my real family, Mary Ellen said. I have a family here. That is enough. The ranchers turned and rode away, and the tension in the camp slowly dissolved. But Mary Ellen found herself shaking, reaction setting in now that the danger had passed. Running Wolf came to her side, gently taking the rifle from her trembling hands. It is over, he said softly. You were very brave. I was very angry, Mary Ellen corrected. Brave and angry look similar sometimes. Blue Crow Woman appeared with First Light and Storm coming, both girls frightened by the commotion but unharmed. Mary Ellen dropped to her knees and pulled them close, breathing in their smell of wood smoke and sage and childhood. Are the bad men gone? First Light asked in Apache. Yes, Little Hawk. They are gone. Good. They were very loud and very rude. Storm Cummings' face was fierce. Father said he would protect us. He always protects us. Mary Ellen looked up at Running Wolf, saw the emotion on his face as he heard himself called father, heard his daughter's absolute faith in his protection. Some things were worth fighting for, worth defending, worth building a life around. That night, as the camp settled back into routine, Mary Ellen lay awake thinking about the choice she had made. Her father's words echoed in her mind. You are dead to me. Maybe she was dead to him, to the white world she had left behind. But she was more alive here than she had ever been before. She thought about the woman she had been, barely more than a girl, selling herself for $50 and 3 pigs because she had no other options. She thought about that woman dying in the dust of Fort Davis while good Christian people watched. She thought about Lieutenant Hayes's offer of rescue, of a return to civilization. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that she had made the right choice. She was Apache now, not because of blood or birth, but because of choice and love and the stubborn determination to build a life worth living. Running Wolf had given her that chance when no one else would. Her daughters would grow up strong and fierce and free, learning to hunt and shoot and survive in ways white girls never could. The price was high. She would never see another white town, never speak to another white person who saw her as anything but a traitor or a captive. But the reward was higher. Love, family, purpose, respect. A life that was hers, built with her own hands and choices. Running Wolf stirred beside her in the darkness. You are thinking too much. I can hear your thoughts from here. Mary Ellen smiled despite everything. Sorry. My thoughts are loud tonight. You have much to think about. Your father came. You chose us over him. That is not small thing. It was the easiest choice I have ever made, Mary Ellen said. And the hardest. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Best choices are often that way. Easy to make, hard to live with, but still right. Running Wolf pulled her closer. Morning Rain's father never forgave me for marrying her. He said I was too poor, too wild, not good enough for Chief's daughter. He was right about poor and wild, but wrong about not good enough. I made her happy. That mattered more than his approval. Do you think we will have peace now? Or will more men come? Maybe peace, maybe not. But we are ready either way. You are ready, I see. Warrior woman now? Not scared pregnant girl from Fort Davis? That woman would stand and fight for her family. That woman is Apache. Mary Ellen felt tears on her cheeks, but they were good tears this time. Tears of recognition and acceptance and hard-won pride. Tell me I am doing right thing. Tell me my daughters will be okay. I cannot tell you what will happen. No one can see future. But I can tell you this. First Light and Storm Coming have mother who fights for them, father who would die for them, and people who claim them as their own. That is more than many children have, white or Apache. They will be okay, because they are strong, and we made them strong. Outside, the wind sang through the canyon, carrying the smell of sage and juniper and the distant promise of rain. Inside, Mary Ellen closed her eyes and let herself believe. Her daughters would be okay. She would be okay. They had chosen this life, and it had chosen them back. That was enough. The years that followed were not easy, but they were good. First Light and Storm Coming grew into strong, young girls, as fierce as their mother and as steady as their father. They learned to hunt, to track, to shoot with accuracy that impressed even the men. They learned the old stories, the medicine ways, the sacred songs that bound the people together. Mary Ellen grew old beside Running Wolf, her blonde hair turning white, her skin weathered by sun and wind into something that looked more Apache than white. She taught the young girls to shoot, trained them in the weapon skills that had once been her salvation. She became known as Hawkeye Woman, the white woman who had become more Apache than many born to the tribe. Running Wolf kept his promise. He protected his family, provided for them, loved them with a quiet intensity that never faded. On his death day, many years later, with first light and storm coming, grown women with families of their own, he held Mary Ellen's hand and smiled. "You gave me good life," he said. In the Apache language they both spoke now as easily as breathing. "You gave me daughters to be proud of. You gave me reason to wake up every morning after morning rain died. Thank you for choosing us." "Thank you for stopping in Fort Davis," Mary Ellen replied, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." "I will see you again," Running Wolf promised, "in the next world, when it is your time. I will be waiting with Morning Rain and Laughing Boy and all the others who loved us. We will all be together there." He died as the sun set, peaceful and ready, having lived a full life on his own terms. Mary Ellen mourned him properly, cutting her hair in the Apache way, singing the death songs, giving him back to the earth with honor and love. She lived another 10 years after that, long enough to see her grandchildren grow, long enough to pass on the stories of how she had come to the people, how Running Wolf had saved her, how she had chosen Apache life over white civilization, long enough to become a legend, the white woman who had been more Apache than many born to the tribe. When her time came, she went peacefully, surrounded by her daughters and grandchildren, secure in the knowledge that she had lived a life that mattered. Her last thoughts were of Running Wolf, of his strong arms carrying her from the dust, of his quiet voice claiming her as his wife, of his steady presence through all the years of struggle and joy. She had walked through fire and been remade. She had chosen love over fear, family over blood, life over death. And in the end, that made all the difference. The end.